All right, I want to share a few ideas on Ishmael and Esav and how we are to deal with children like them. It is inconceivable to think that they were Abraham, Sarah, and Yitzchak and Rivka didn't love both. They will both love the two children. Obviously, it is also what the father or the mother envisions for the child, what the child can be, and what he can do to fix the world. We have to be very careful in our, as a parenthood, to not to project our desire to be a certain way on the child, and to obviously we have to want them to be great and have find their own mission and rectify the world. But sometimes we're blinded by our love, and our hope. But Avram and Sarah loved Ishmael. The problem that there was a problem with Ishmael. Ishmael was behaving in a non-good way. In the behavior was not good, and therefore it was necessary to take him out. But the reason they took him out was because Ishmael needed that approach in parenthood. He was kicked out, but let's understand, doesn't mean that your child misbehaved and he needs to be kicked out. But there's two types of child. The child that needs to be kicked out. Why didn't kick out Esav, right? So one child needs to be kicked out, the other one not. But careful, when we mean kicked out, it's not mean kicked out of the house like that. It's kicked out in a way that you do everything to bring him back. Some children need tough love, and some children cannot do with tough love. I mean, you try to give them all the love they need and keep them under your roof. So tough love means you kicked out. He needs to understand their boundaries, their consequences. This needs a certain level of respect. But I go out with him. I stay in touch with him. I love him. Avraham kept in touch with Ishmael for so many years. And after even Sarah died, he got remarried with his mother, which is Hagar, which was named Keturah. So we see that Avraham did everything to make sure that Ishmael felt love. But Ishmael had to understand that, sometimes love requires to be tough and serious, both boundaries. That's number one, and that's what enabled him to do tshuva. With Esav, it was the opposite. Esav needed very soft love, but Esav didn't succeed in achieving that level. Yitzchak and Rivka kept him in the house, both of them, and they told actually Yaakov, the other one, to leave, because sometimes you have to tell the good children to leave, and you take the children who rebels, who struggle, who need help in the house. And in a way, the hope was that with the love, tremendous love of Yitzchak, and that's why Yitzchak was hoping for Esav till the end. He was hoping that he will do tshuva. He was giving him love and appreciating his strength, focusing on his strength. However, Esav was still an individual, and he didn't succeed in focusing on his goodness. Yitzchak really wanted Esav to go in the world and rectify the world, and it would have been greater than Yaakov. His soul was greater than Yaakov. And he had tremendous potential, but he lost it. He lost it. He went after his body instead of his head. And Esav later on kind of recognized, there's a debate whether Esav did teshuvah or not. Most hold that he didn't do teshuvah, but his head is still buried in the Kever Machpelah. And the idea is that even though he might have good intention, he was running after this world and was not able to use his physical strength and qualities to elevate the physical world. So So that's the first thing. In both cases, doesn't matter how the kid is, we have to give them love and we have to decide what's the right approach. But in either cases, you have to give them love as long as possible. And interestingly, it says about Esav that we should not hate him. In Varim 23:8, it says that you should not. Actually, it doesn't say hate. You should not bring negative feelings to, or some say not too much, but you should not abhor hatred or negativity towards Esav because he's your brother. And it's interesting, it doesn't say that about Ishmael. Esav is more of a brother than Ishmael. Esav is the nation that is going to be connected to Yaakov almost all the time. It's going to be very relevant to what we're going to speak about now. That when we speak about an evil person in the Torah, my Rebbe always says that, I believe it's a Rashi, he quotes a Rashi that every evil personality in the Torah refers to something in us. So it's a negative, is a type of Yetzer Hara that exists, and that's why each one in there is tremendously great. Why we speak about all those evil people and what they did and the mistake, because each one had potential. Each one had it's a way the Yetzer Hara tried to get us and trick us to behave a certain way, and we have to learn from those personalities in the Torah and how to deal with them, which is the whole Sefer Bereshit, how to deal with evil, and that's speaking with the evil in us. So in us, there is Abraham, there is Yitzchak, then there is Sarah, Rivka, right? And there is also an Ishmael and an Esav. So if I let my body then one day desire something very strong and I don't let my head control myself, then I become Esav and fall into the same trap. And if I'm sometimes Ishmael, meaning I go and I lack respect to the elders, or I lack, I guess, appreciation, or I go to the extreme. I'm an extreme extremist, like Ishmael always was. We need to, calm him down and give him some musar, give him some tough love. So we have to give ourselves some tough love and be very strong with ourselves. No, and be really intense with yourself. Do something a little bit extreme that is going to stop you from doing it. Extreme boundaries. Now, obviously, we know that Esav and Ishmael represents the east. The west and the east. Esav represents the west and Ishmael represents the east. They correspond to those two parts of the world, and Israel being in the middle. So you have Israel, on the right you have Ishmael, and on the left you have Esav, the eastern world and the western world. Ishmael is not just the Arabs, Ishmael is many different types of, today is all mixed together, but a nation more of the east, and Esav is mostly the western world, Rome, Edom, all that. So the idea is, and Israel is in the middle and needs to make the balance. Ishmael goes to the extreme right, and Esav goes to the extreme left. Extreme right, Ishmael, we saw the bad part of Ishmael is the terrorists. Go extreme right, which is all or nothing, and in order to deal with them, we need to deal with them with tough love. And tough love means, you throw a rocket, we're gonna, destroy your whole army. That doesn't work like that. You're lacking respect. And from the West, we're dealing with too much acceptance, too much love, too much acceptance of the physical, and therefore we need to show them love and cuddle them in a way because they need cuddling, physical cuddling, but really show them that you are not following your head, you're following just your body, and you're gonna hurt yourself. And that's part of being Or Lagoim, a light into the nation. As Jews, we actually the Vinagon says, what are the 70 nations? They're all represented by Ishmael and Esav, and we have to be a light for them. We know there's a constant duality in the Jewish people. Within our marriage, we have male, female, husband and wife, and then we have Avram and Sarah, which is Chesed and Gvura, and then the opposite, the other side helps you bring, how to say, Sarah was the Isaac Kenegdo of Avram, and she helped take care of Ishmael, and then Rivka was the opposite of Rivka, helped deal with Esav. That's why when we get married, we need an opposite that helps us create a balance and fix help our children grow in the best possible environment and find the right tools. Okay, so the reason I'm saying that is because we need to understand that how to deal with ourselves, and that we're going to have opposite force in us all the time, and we have to listen, is this my Esau, is this my Ishmael? And based on how I analyze it and recognize it, so in Ishmael is usually all my head, it's all fanatic spiritual, and it's all about God, and Esav is all about my body. And Israel is in the middle, needs to create the balance. Sometimes I'm too focused on my physical, sometimes too focused on my spiritual, and one should not deny the other. There's more chance to be saved if I'm more spiritual than physical, because when Ishmael did Teshuvah, Esav didn't do Teshuvah. Esav got trapped by his body. So if I'm more physical, I'm much more chance to fail. So it's better to be a little bit more spiritual than physical. But the whole job of Israel is to create that balance, and one needs a rabbi or a guide, someone to help you find out how much of a spiritual person I should be, and how much of a physical person, how much I should be involved in the physical. And that's why Yaakov, at the end of the parasha, comes, Hakol kol Yaakov v'yedei Esav, that the voice is the voice of Yaakov, meaning that he's connected to his spirituality, but he showed Yitzchak that I am going to be able to also be involved in the physical. Esav didn't do it. I'm going to take that responsibility. I'm going to be involved in this physical world. But we have to understand that it's not, I have to be 100% spiritual or 100% physical. It has to be something like 80% spiritual and 20% physical, or something like that. Everybody is going to have a different measure, but that's the right balance. One should not be on any extreme. That's why that was the problem with Avram, that was the problem with Yitzchak. Even though they were the greatest, they still were not balanced. Yaakov is the first one that found that balance. He learned it from Avram and Yitzchak, obviously. And we have to learn also our balance in our life, how to create that balance. That's one of the hardest things. Now, one of the things that we have to understand is to learn about like I mentioned before, every personality, evil personality in the Torah is here to teach us something and to teach us about life. And they were tremendously great. Esav was a reincarnation of Cain. Cain and Hevel were the true brothers, and Esav and Yaakov were Cain and Hevel. So the same way they wanted to kill each other, here again, they killed each other. And there's a need to rectify this within the Jewish people. The Jewish people still want to kill each other. You take the extremely ultra-Orthodox, Haredi, Hasidic Jew. Satmar, Nutiwekarta, and they want to kill. I don't mean it necessarily literally, but they're completely against at all the army, and Tzioni from the army wants to kill, so to speak, the extreme religious, and those are the two extremes that are not good, and we need the middleman. We need people who are balanced, and we need to understand that we need the religious and we need the guy in the army. We need both. But the ideal, Yaakov is saying, the ideal is not to be just a Tzioni, soldier, Chiloni, or it's not to be just a Haredi, ultra-Orthodox. No, it's to be a balanced individual who is a Talmid Chacham and a soldier in the army. And to be a very wise person, a sage, a holy person that does business. That's the ideal. That's how we change the world. You cannot really change the world if you're all on one side. These extremes are never good. We need balance. Like the Rambam says, it has to be the Derech Yeshara, the middle path, the balance. Balance, all about balance. So that's what we need. We need people to understand, I need to be spiritual, I need to work on my spirituality, I need to pray, I need to meditate, I need to learn, I need to grow, I need to be involved in the spirituality of Judaism, but I need also to do business and to be a Kiddush Hashem, to go out in the world and work on my character traits and to be a role model and protect my country and to be involved, be honest in my business and all that. So we need both. It's a necessary thing. And how do we see that? So we know, therefore, Yaakov and Esau were trying to fix Cain and Hevel. It didn't work so well, as you saw. Yaakov kind of took that responsibility and to be both united. And what's happening, who was the person that came from, actually, a reincarnation of Esav, obviously is from, it went through Ruth and all that from the Jews, but the David HaMelech was a reincarnation of Esav. And David HaMelech is that exact balance. It's just like Yaakov. Now, how do we know that? First the Arizal says, but it's also that David was also red hair. He had red hair. He was very hairy, just like Yitzchak, and red head. And he was very into physicality, right? But he was also a very spiritual person. On one side, he had the sword, and on the other side, he had the Tehillim. It was not like, staying all day, learning as a king, holy, not moving his place. No, he would go out in the field and fight for his country and be involved in the world, in the matters of the world. And that's what a king is. This is also talking about a king in ourselves. A king for us is to learn and to be involved in the world. So we have to learn from that. Now, another thing that is interesting is today we have, for the first time in history, Esav being connected to the Jewish people in a positive way. Just like Esav at the end, after he met Yaakov, they said that okay, let's go together. And Yaakov said, no, you go first, and I'll follow. I'll catch you up. Which for me means that you take care, you continue growing in the physical world, and I'll follow. I'll follow. I'll try to connect to you. Eventually, at the end, we're gonna meet together. And what's happening is that today we have Trump. Now, I'm not here doing politics. I'm not saying Trump is good. I'm not saying he's bad. Everybody has his own opinions. But Trump, clearly, also the redhead guy, the king, or I'm speaking like in Torah terms, the president of the United States, and he clearly represents that physical power the power of the desire for the body to be accomplished and do everything you want physically to be successful, and we have now that confrontation, but we have an Esav that is helping, in a way, the Jews, Israel, in a way that has never been seen in history, as if Esav wants to do tshuva. Obviously, it's not going to last very long, probably, but it's in a way it's like Esav trying to go to his father. Because Esav was the greatest in the midst of Kivudav, so he had his head, he had respect for the Rosh, for the head, for the spirituality, but he couldn't allow himself to follow it. And we have to realize that today we have Esav, embodiment of Esav in a way in Trump, and we have to be thankful. We have to learn the same way Yaakov dealt with Esav. We have to kind of deal with him a bit the same way. We have to be careful what's trickier, what's not to be deceived. But we have to still be thankful for having him supporting Israel in the way he does. And again, like I say, I'm not taking any political side, but the idea is that we have whatever goodness we have, whatever positive thing we have to appreciate it, we have to pray for it, we're thankful for it. So we should pray that Trump continues to support Israel in the way he does, and hopefully make America great again. But we have to be careful, because we don't know how much of the outside is actually true. That's what I wanted to share with you. I thought I'd help it give you some perspective on Ishmael and Esav, what they represent. And I gave other classes in the past about it that will go deeper into understanding the extremely religious and extremely physical, those right and left side, chesed and gvura. But the main lesson is really to understand that we have this in us, we have this in our kids, and we need to learn to balance our kids and not to push them to be too much that way or too much that way, and really help our kids with tremendous love and see what type of love they need, and help them understand that they need to love a bit the other side. The whole problem of the Jewish people, we're going to have after Yosef and his brothers, is a continuation of this whole problem of brothers. And it's interesting that, like I said before, we're not allowed to hate Esav and not allowed to abhor negativity towards him and towards Mitzrayim, because Esav is still our brother on some level, on spiritual level, and Mitzrayim, Egypt, they help us sojourn, meaning we can't not be grateful for whatever those countries did, even if it was in the past. We have a responsibility of gratitude for forever. It's a huge lesson. But we need to really learn to love our kids. It's one of the biggest challenges today. And understand that our spouse, which is usually the opposite, usually the husband wants the kid to be like this, and the wife wants the kid to be like that. Now let's put him in a religious school. Now let's put him in a non-religious school. Why not? Why do you want him to be in a non-religious school? Why do you want him to be in a religious school? Sometimes you can find schools that are balanced. Now there is no perfect school, but a school that is balanced, that gives the spirituality, the understanding of what it means to be a Jew or to be a spiritual person, and to the responsibility of making a living and having good character traits, and to be a productive member of society, positive member of society. So it is the most challenging thing, but that's why your spouse is usually the opposite of you. If you're slow, the other one is going to be fast. If you're tough, the other one is going to be soft. The one is going to be, impatient. The other one is going to be patient. All those things are here for us to balance each other, and so that our kids become balanced. Abraham tried to do it with Sarah. Yitzchak tried to do Rivka. And finally, Yaakov was able to do it with his wives. And that's one of the reasons why he had his two wives, because he took the responsibility of Esav and his responsibility. That's why he had Rachel and Leah. The two, he had to marry both. And I forgot to mention that Esav could have done teshuva if he had married Dinah, which Yaakov was hiding from him. That was not good, and that means that we have the ability to bring Esav back, the Western world back, by guiding them if we give them the right tools. So what's going to happen at the end of days, we don't know. But it's clear, according to the Malbim and the Zohar and many other Mefarshim, that eventually, even though there's going to be a war between Esav and Ishmael, or they're going to join, and then they're going to fight against us, but then it's not so clear. This actually goes both ways, that they were fighting against, but they were teaming up. We know that Esav married the wives of Ishmael, so the wives, the descendant from Ishmael. So there's a connection there. But the idea, the Malbim says that at the end of time, and the Kuzari also says that all the nations, the Muslim especially, but people from the East and people from the West, the Rome, Christianity, are going to realize that the root of their religion, the root of their belief, the root of that got unbalanced. It was too much really extreme, and that really the root is Judaism and Israel, and that really they're going to come back to the source and become supporters of Israel, and you're going to have Israel fighting the world with Moshiach in order to, together with the help, support of Ishmael and Christianity, who are going to recognize. It's going to take time. Again, we don't know exactly how things are going to happen, but that's the way Zohar says that eventually they're going to recognize that, and at that moment God is going to reveal himself, and the world is going to be enlightened by the truth. And God willing, it should happen very soon, in a non-dangerous, in a non-negative way. So may we all be able to experience that very soon. Baruch Adonai L'olam, Amen v'Amen.